Yo, what's going on? It's the 90 ShowBiz, and we're back in the building. And yes, guys, we did rebrand. This is going to be a mostly a football channel, football, soccer, whatever you call it, depending on where you are. But yes, indeed, we're moving on to that. So in today's video, we're pretty much just gonna do the FPL, the Fantasy Premier League. I don't know if a lot of you guys love to play that, but it sure is a lot of fun. And this season, it's definitely going to be even more fun because of the fact that, the defensive contribution points now that are changing. Also, obviously the Premier League's getting much more fun now with a lot of, new faces coming in. It's definitely getting a lot more competitive and, way more entertaining to watch. So I'm just going to go through my team and, what I did. Obviously, I'll let you guys know the changes you could make if you decide to go my route or similar players. The players that I considered getting, who to avoid. Just basically a glimpse and stuff like that on the Fantasy Premier League, some tips. And yeah, that's just gonna be the video. So without further ado, let's get into it. So for those of you guys that don't know how Fantasy Premier League works, you have 100 million in the bank, right? As you guys can see over here, right? And you pretty much pick a starting 11. And basically, 15 players. Okay, I had to count to make sure. Obviously, because you have the reserves as well. That makes sense. So yeah, you pick 15 players. You have 100 million in the bank, and you pretty much can use all of it, or you can, save some. It depends. And pretty much every week you just pretty much play, and there's wild cards and all that good stuff. And you pretty much just you can change players every week. You get one free transfer per week, and all that good stuff. So just a quick little rundown. Obviously, getting into the team now, I mean, I personally made multiple drafts. Like, I know a lot of you guys probably did the same thing. I know it's super, super, super difficult, especially this year. I think this is probably the hardest. If not, it's definitely up there for, Fantasy Premier League seasons. And so, yeah, I think, that's what makes this all juicy. So I'm just making this team to see where we end up. We're going to try to follow it every week, see how we do. We'll probably make more videos, for it, depending on how it goes midway through. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So for the goalies, obviously Pickford being the number one most points last season. So with my first pick, I went with Sanchez. Now, yeah, I went with Sanchez because just looking at the fixtures for Chelsea, here we are right here. If you look at their first, I'd say let's say 10 games, right? They have Man United, Liverpool, and Tottenham, right? Three games that you'd say, okay, it's going to be much harder to win than the others. Um, Obviously, I think for most of the goalies that are on this list, we'll talk specifically about the most expensive goalies. I think Robert Sanchez is the best. Obviously, Chelsea coming in with that big, Club World Cup win. I feel like he's going to be nice and confident. I just feel like with the matchups that he has there, it's definitely one to gamble for. Now, at first, I went with a much cheaper option. I went with a 4.5 goalie, I think it was, or a 4.0. And you could obviously do that. You could definitely get cheaper goalies. I think there's a lot of good names out there. I just think that, it's hard to tell whether it's super important, but I feel like in Fantasy Premier League, any points you could pick up is definitely great. And I had the extra, I technically had the extra money on my team. I think I was left with like point 0.5 or 1. So I was like, I might as well upgrade him. But, it's your call. And then for the second goalie, I look at it as like you want to get basically, if you're going to get two goalies that are cheap, you want to get two goalies that you can rotate. So, for example, I chose as my second goalie, I think it was Verbruggen. And the reason why I chose him is because at first I did go with Keller, but I just look at Brentford and I just look at Brighton, and I said to myself, like, obviously Brentford, new manager, lost a lot of players, probably going to be more bottom half of the table. I feel like it's probably better to go with Brighton just because, I mean, their attack is really good. They're probably going to concede, but I still think that I would rather go with a team that is more on the top of the table. I think it's just a safer pick. And obviously, look at their matchups as well. Like, the fixtures aren't bad. And the reason why I'm saying they're not bad is because obviously we're going to start the first like 5 at least weeks with, Sanchez. And then after that, you have Wolves, Newcastle. Then you move here. You have, you could swap back, Chelsea goal. You have Leeds, Crystal Palace, Brentford, Nottingham. Like, you have a good little stretch here where it's like much easier, and these are winnable games. And obviously, I do think Brighton's gonna be like more up there, definitely above the 12th place. So I just think, why not? That's just how I look at it. But if you're gonna choose two goalies that are like 4.0 or 4.5 to save the money, you do want to choose two goalies that you can rotate. Make sure you pay attention to the fixtures. That's super important in fantasy. So yeah. So those are my two goalies that I went with. Again, other shouts, just in case, like I said, I'm going to give you guys tips as this video goes on. Obviously, Sell's not a bad decision. Maybe if you get another goalie with him to because you want both of your goalies to be good. Like, you don't want to have one goalie and you rely on him the entire season. So you want to pick people that are going to play with minutes. So that's also very important. And like more underrated teams, I feel like Brighton, I feel like is a team that's been pushing up there 9th, 8th, like 10th, that area. I think like every season they're trying to get better. So I think it's very underrated to pick a goalie like them, like Verbruggen. Areola's not a bad idea. I mean, maybe West Ham this year are going to, I think they're going to have a better year, but it just, it just depends. But yeah, so I don't want to make this video like too long. Obviously, if you guys have any questions, drop them down below. But I'm just giving you guys the cusp of like just the most essential information. Now with defense, right? So let's start with my best defender, my most expensive. I'm going to go Gvardio. And it's just point blank simple. Like I said, this year, defensive contribution points are going to be more important. They're actually going to matter now. So defense is going to get more points, essentially. I think Gvardio, I mean, like when I first made I told you, like my prior drafts, I didn't have a 6 million defender. Obviously, it's the most expensive. I didn't have one just because I said to myself, like, I might as well go with cheaper options and spread my team. And I think this year that's very important. You want to have bench depth, like you want to have more of a spread out team. You don't want to have like two premium players and just rely on a bunch of players that aren't going to get points. I think, like I said, this season is going to be very spread out with points and super difficult. So I think having like 6 million player is essential. And the main reason what really caught my eye for Gvardio is that I don't really have any City players in my entire team. And I said to myself, City are going to be in the top 3, top 4. There's no way I don't get somebody in there. And I said, what better than Gvardio? Because, you have attacking potential for goals on corners. Obviously, like, he has the most points as a defender. So, I think it's really good. I think you either go with him or Virgil if you're going for somebody for 6. I mean, Arsenal is not a bad shout too, but I just think Virgil and Gvardio are like your best 2 options. If you want to go Arsenal and you don't have any Arsenal, maybe Gabriel is a good shout. But ultimately, obviously, the choice is yours. And yeah, so that's my most expensive pick. Now, my second most expensive pick on this list, and I do think that this is a very good underrated pick. Again, I'm going to repeat. I do think that this is a very good underrated pick. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have watched Chelsea. I mean, sorry, not Chelsea, Everton. When I look at blue, I always think Chelsea. But yeah, so Everton, when you look at Everton, right, very defensive team. They're like, the only reason why they've been saving themselves from relegation the last couple of seasons has been their rock solid defense. And I think again, like last season, Tarkowski was like at the top for like what was it, tackles or whatnot. Like, he's always up there with the best in the Prem. He keeps, Everton rock hard solid in the back. I think just because Everton's a very defensive team, I think that's literally what literally pinned him for me to put him on this team. And I think now with the addition of, because defensive points weren't a thing too much before, I think now he's going to fly up, like definitely fly up for sure. You won't regret it. I think this is definitely one of the most underrated picks. And again, obviously you have Mikolenko. And then there was one more. Maybe he's in the second page here. I know he's here somewhere. I mean, obviously O'Brien, but that's yeah, Branthwaite. So you have Branthwaite, Tarkowski, and Mikalenko. I think Mikalenko or Tarkowski, you want to get one of the two. If you want to save, go Mikalenko. If not, go Tarkowski if you have the money for it. Obviously, minutes. I think Tarkowski is gonna play like I'm pretty sure he plays almost probably every game. He's their captain, so I mean he should play. So with minutes, you're not getting ahead of yourself there. Obviously, the minutes are there, and he's played a lot of games in the Premier League last season too, so he shouldn't get injured. Crossing my fingers because obviously I don't want to jinx it. Next is let's do this guy right here. Another player that I think you should have in your team, and if you don't, again similar to Tarkowski, I think this is another gem. And again, I was gonna make a separate video, but I'm just gonna do it all in one. I think Wan-Bissaka for defensive points. I think for 4.5 million, which is I think the second cheapest defender, right? Yeah, for the second cheapest defender, because in 4.0 you're really gonna get nobody. Like I mean, there's some players there, but you're almost gonna get like the minutes is gonna mess you up. I think for like the cheapest defenders, I think Wan-Bissaka is an insane shout. Obviously him. You have Gui, as well, 4.5. Who else? I mean, there's not a ton of options here. That's why Wan-Bissaka is insane for 4.5. I think he's gonna go up. In my opinion, as a back, he's one of the best. Obviously, defensively, he's one of the like best in the Prem, tackling wise. And I mean, he could try to score, assist. He has the potential for both. Obviously, like I said, defensive points will go up. So I definitely will see him more and more up there. So I think he's very key. So I think obviously if you get him, you won't go wrong. And again, fixtures. Like I mean, look, again, fixtures. Sunderland. You open the season off with Sunderland. You have Nottingham Forest. Like obviously there's a few much more harder games, but like I said, that's why you have enough to rotate. Next is gonna be Van de Ven. Now Van de Ven, I said to myself at first, like I thought about it, right? And out of this entire team, I'm not even trolling you. I think probably my defense and or maybe my attack probably can get shifted a little bit. I spent so much time changing it, like so many times. I think Van de Ven. I'm not saying he's bad at all. I think he's really good. I think you want to get a Tottenham player in, whether it's Van de Ven or Udogi, because look at these fixtures for Tottenham. Look, I mean, come on. Like you open the season with Burnley. You obviously okay. You play City. You could take them out, and then you have Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Wolves, Leeds, Villa, Everton. Like, come on. You see what I mean? It's like when you're building like week one teams, very important. Like I said, is the fixtures. That's your most important thing. Like I'd literally rather get in a player over Salah if he's gonna play so many hard games. You know what I mean? So I just look at it that way, and that's the strategy I'm going in with. Hopefully, it doesn't make me pay, but I strongly agree. And I know a lot of the other top fantasy, players that have ranked high in the past seasons, they think the same. I like I said, I think it's very important to include a Tottenham player, which is why I went with Van de Ven. Again, last season he got injured. His season was cut short, but I think when this guy's at full strength, he's going to be like like literally a reckon to watch. Like he's super good. And then the last one, I just went with Heaven. Obviously a United fan, so I was like, let me throw him in there. Obviously, he's probably not going to get a lot of minutes. I think he's super solid. I mean, last season he played like a good amount he actually played a good amount of minutes. I was surprised. And he actually did really solid, especially in the cup games. Obviously, he got hurt, so that set him back a ton. But I think now with United's rebuild going on and everything, I think they'll give him some more minutes. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be a regular starter, but I'm going with 3 at the back most likely this season, and I still have three players I can rely on, and then I have the swap if I need. So I don't think it's really essential to have a 5th center back. I don't want to spend too much money on having 5 like perfectly executed players, but I still think for 4.0, I like Heaven for sure. Next is midfield. Now, in my opinion, this season, I think midfield is going to be the most important position, and it probably is for other seasons, but I say this because of the defensive contribution points, like I said. And with saying that, I'm going to start with a name that not a lot of people are going to be familiar with and not a lot of people are probably going to have, but again, another underrated pick is Moises Caicedo for Chelsea. Yes, I think, right, Moises Caicedo, again, Chelsea's engine in the midfield. He has potential to score, assist. Obviously, his like defensive ratings. I feel like this guy is going to be really fun to watch this season. Obviously, Chelsea last season and breaking into the top four. Obviously, they won the Club World Cup. Moises Caicedo alongside, you know, uh, I forgot their other midfielder that they signed. But basically, what I'm saying is I think that he's going to be good to watch. And I think, like I said, with the fixtures that Chelsea have, which is another reason why I took him, because Sanchez, I have him here and then him. I think that's a really good shout. The fixtures made me want to get him. The price 5.5 it's not bad at all for a midfielder. I mean, look, it goes up to 14. You're saving money there and you're picking a defensive player. I think it's really important to get some defensive players in there. You don't want to just go with a full attack midfield because obviously yes, they could score, but like I said, the defensive ratings is going to do a lot for you. So I mean, and again, it's a gamble. Like certain teams obviously can start the season off rough. You get a clean sheet, you get extra points, you play a lot of minutes, you get extra points. Obviously, like you want to also pick players from better teams, of course. That's the risk you take. But I just think that the players I'm picking, I think even if they're not on good teams, I still think that they have the potential to keep their points high just because of the fact that single-handedly, I think they're always on the top of the charts. So it's just so much easier to just pick them. Like, for example, Tarkowski, like even if Everton don't do good, he's still going to be up there no matter what. But obviously, if they throw in a couple clean sheets, his points rise double, and it's a win-win. So, yeah. Next, for midfielder, another, okay, so again, this guy, another underrated player. I think this guy this season is going to be really good in Daye. Not a lot of people talk about him. I think this season he's going to be super good. Again, I have two Everton players in here, which I wouldn't have expected. But yes, I do think that Everton, I wouldn't say are fully back, but I definitely think that they're going to be much better this season under their new manager. I think that their defensive game that they play, especially adding Barry and like maybe a couple of other players that they might get because they have some money to spend. I do think that this team has potential. Again, and Ndiaye looked really good in the preseason games, so I'm backing him to with his defensive rate, and then on top of that, as the number 10, I do think that that's a good shout for me. So that's why I have him there. And let's just take a look at Everton's fixtures. I mean, look, to open the season off, the first 4 games are beautiful if you have him in your fantasy Premier League team. So I just think, I mean, what more is there to say about him? You know what I mean? And obviously, I don't want to go super, super high, and I'll tell you why. Because the next player on this list is going to be Cole Palmer. Yes, I said it. Now, Cole Palmer, in my opinion, guys, if there's a premium player that you want to have, I think it's Cole Palmer. I mean, come on. He speaks for himself. Third in points. He's always been up there every single season since he's been in the league. Obviously, he comes with a crazy price at 10.5. But the only other players that actually are cheaper than him and have similar points are obviously Mbeumo and Cunha, and both of those players now are United players, so you don't really know what you're going to get out of them, and you might not get the 200s from them again, so, because it's going to take time for them to adjust. So I do think behind Mohamed Salah, I think Cole Palmer is your best bet, and obviously I don't think I'm going to have Salah in this one. At first, I had Mohamed Salah on my team, but I'm probably going to end up getting him later in the season just because if you look at his stats, right, obviously you have him against Bournemouth. He's probably going to do his thing. But then you have Newcastle, Arsenal, which I'm not saying he won't do good, but it's like risky because that's like Newcastle's really defensive. And then, the Arsenal game's always going to be good because of their little battle that they've been having. So it's like, I don't want to risk him early. I'll probably get him more in here somewhere and change up my team. We'll see. But as of right now, I think for 14.5, I don't want to do it just because I'm going to be left with a really shitty midfield. And like I said, if there's a season to do it, it's now to stack premiums because, like I said, there's a lot of good players. Like, I love the prices this year that the Fantasy League, put in. Their prices are amazing this season. But because of the fact that, like, just of those first few matchups, I don't like it. And if I play Salah, I'm probably gonna get rid of Palmer because I don't want to have too many. And I just think, like I said, Palmer. I mean, look at the games that you start with. Like your first, let's say 5 to 6 games, you have a possibility of him having the most points already. So you just can't miss out on Palmer. I think he's like a must premium player for you to have. Now the other player that I have, right, is So this guy's another player. Sorry, guys, I'm just looking at the team just to make sure. So Rodgers. Okay, now look. This guy was the last player I put into my team. And I really thought about it, right? I really sat there and really thought about it. And I'm like, look, right? We have the money, right? We don't need too much expensive strikers because I'm not getting Holland. I'm not getting any of that, right? We have a lot of money to work with, right? Instead of picking up, like, instead of doing Palmer, Saka, and Salah because I could have done it, right? With Saka and Salah having really hard games to start, I said to myself, I feel like it's not a good idea to stack all three of them. I think we should spread it out a little bit. And I feel like with having, Caicedo as a more defensive player, and then we're kind of risking it on Ndiaye here with Everton, having like a nice little breakout year. I think Rodgers, is super safe because look, in my opinion, I think for 7 million, he's a steal. And look, I know you guys are like, wow, it's Villa, whatever. Trust me, guys. 7 million. I think this guy's gonna go up to at least 8, if not 7.5, somewhere around the start of the season, and people are gonna regret getting him. I think Rodgers is. I mean, look, see, like you start Newcastle, all right, whatever, but then you have Brentford, Crystal Palace, Everton, Sunderland, Fulham, Burnley. Like you literally play Sunderland, Fulham, and Burnley. You play literally Sunderland, Fulham, and Burnley. Like this guy's gonna feast in points early. Like last season 161 total points, and he's only 7 million. Like, come on. And you guys know that Morgan Rodgers is a huge piece for Villa. Like, he's literally like they're probably their most important player, him and Ollie Watkins. And with Ollie Watkins staying in Villa for sure, you guys know that this guy's gonna pick up points. I mean, come on. And I feel like he's gonna be even better this season. So with that being said, I'm backing Rodgers, in my team. And hopefully it doesn't make me pay, but I still think no matter what, guys, like you're safe at least 100 plus points this season from him. And with the final spot, now originally, I did put Salah in. The reason why before I was saying that I don't need Salah is because look, I was gonna take out Salah, right, and put somebody else in, but because I had so much money left over and I really liked how my team was, I was like, you know what, I'll pay the risk. Because first game of the week is Bournemouth, right? He's going to probably tear Bournemouth apart, right? And then you have Newcastle and Arsenal, right? But it's Mohamed Salah at the end of the day. He's probably going to get an assist or so. He's still going to pick up points. And then let's say the worst happens against Arsenal or something. You're going Burnley, Everton, Crystal Palace. Like you're back on the score sheet. And it's Mohamed Salah. So it's like when you play a team like Burnley or a team like Bournemouth, like any like really like I'm not saying Bournemouth is bad, but I'm saying like if you play any team more in the bottom half, right? Like he's gonna feast and get a lot of points. So like that makes up for like any bad week he's had. You know what I mean? And like I said, I like where I'm at. I mean, I feel like Cole Palmer, he's gonna be like my main pull for points. And then obviously, like I said, Rodgers is definitely a great shout. I just like how my team is. If I didn't like how my team was and I needed more money, I would probably get rid of Salah and probably do like Saka. And that's another thing. I had Saka before Salah, but then I switched because I said to myself, like, here, let's take a look at Saka real quick. Where's Saka? Okay, he's somewhere here. So look, I said to myself, right, 10 million for Saka, right? 10 million for 127 points. Now, don't get me wrong. Saka is literally one of the best wingers in the Premier League, probably top 3, right? But I said to myself, look, you play Manchester United to open off the season, right? Then you play, obviously, Leeds, whatever. But then you have Liverpool. So you play Man United, Liverpool, City, and Newcastle in your first 5 to 6 games. That's kind of scary. So I said to myself, I'd rather start Salah now, right? I'd rather get Salah now and not have to worry about getting him later, because I feel like if I get him later with only one free transfer per week, it's going to be so hard to implement him back into my team. I'm going to lose so much money getting Salah back. So I'd rather just, leave Salah in, and then if anything, I can always take him out and then transfer for like, Saka or whoever, depending on what happens. So that's kind of how I look at it. But if I didn't have the money, if I needed like better players, I would definitely probably take him out. Now, going on to the forwards, right? Now, this is where I wouldn't say I'm not confident. I would just say this is where like you can make a lot of changes, and I'll tell you guys why. So with the first person, guys, on this team, right, I'm going to go with Jared Bowen. And I know, guys, a lot of people are like, Jared Bowen for your number 9, what the hell? Look, West Ham haven't been good. And it's pretty crazy that they haven't been good because no, like looking at their team, you'd expect them to be pretty good. But I will say this, right? Jared Bowen, no matter how bad or how good they play, he's always involved. I feel like personally, for me, I think he's their most important player. Um, I think obviously the fixtures you start against Sunderland, which is a relegation team. Yeah, you have Chelsea. Yeah, you have Tottenham in there. But I think Jared Bowen, when you look at this West Ham team, he's gonna get on the score sheet no matter what. I mean, look, he almost had 200 points and he's 8 million coins, 8 million. Like he's literally 8 million and he's 193 points. We just looked at somebody that was 10 million that barely cracked into the 200. So I feel like for a team that is trying to progress and get better, and I think they won't be that bad this season. I think Jared Bowen's gonna be like the one to watch for that team, and I think he's gonna have goals. And it's not even just goals. I think assists too. I mean, if you look at last season, right, goals scored 13 with 11 assists. If he turns into a goal scoring machine, he can easily get almost crack 20. But obviously, with Fulkrug now, I think he's gonna have a better season. Jared Bowen's probably gonna have even more. So I just think he's definitely somebody to have in here. If you don't have Bowen in, maybe somebody like Ollie Watkins, maybe for Villa. I think one of them two is like a must to have. And we'll get into why I chose Bowen, but I just think Bowen. For now, just because he's a little cheaper, and again, we wanna get in Salah, we wanna get in all these players. I think it's better to keep Bowen instead of going for Watkins because Watkins is a little bit more cheaper. And Watkins, look, he's 9 million, right? 1 million more, a little less points, but I think they're always going to be around the same. I just think with Watkins, he's more of like a goal scoring threat. With Bowen, you can kind of get a little bit of both. And I think Villa right now with like Champions League and all that stuff, I'd rather kind of go with Bowen, in a way. So that's kind of just why I chose Bowen. I mean, like I said, you can go with either or. Both, really good. Then the next one I chose Solanke. Now, with Solanke, like at first I wasn't super confident. Like I kept putting him in, taking him out, putting him in, taking him out. I didn't really know what to do because Isaac was rumored, right, was rumored to go to Liverpool. Now I don't think he's going to Liverpool anymore. Maybe, I don't know. We still don't know. So I said to myself, I don't want to get Isaac and then have to figure out what to do. So I said, you know what? Screw Isaac. We're going to go with Solanke, Bowen. Like, we're going to go with like a triple striker to kind of like have that versatility. Now, this is the problem where I'm going to maybe regret this decision when the season starts. I was debating between Wood and Solanke, right? Like, between these two. I didn't know what to do. Now, obviously, if you look at stats, right? Wood, 200 points. How many goals did he have last season? 20. You're thinking like, wow, Solanke is all the way down here. Why don't you just go Wood? It's easy. Well, the reason why is because Tottenham Hotspur, man, I think with, Heung-min Son rumored to leave now, I think Solanke is going to have a bigger role in this team. He's going to be relied upon a lot. I think last season he only had 9 goals. It was his first season playing for Tottenham. I think he was exceptional in Bournemouth. I think with the new change and everything like that, getting used to it, and like Tottenham with their manager and all those issues that they had, injuries, all that stuff, I think you can scratch that season off. And in my opinion, I think this season he's probably going to be like, I don't even want to say probably. I think he will have a better season for sure. I don't know how much better. Like I said, that's why it's a super big gamble. Because with Wood, you kind of know what you're expecting. Like you're kind of guaranteed. Like you see, he had 20, then 14. So like you're kind of guaranteeing that like 10 plus range. But I'm gonna back Solanke, and I hope this doesn't bite me. And if it does end up being bad, I can probably make a transfer mid-season. Because if we look at the fixtures for Nottingham Forest, right? Brentford and Crystal Palace to start with West Ham. I think, West Ham Arsenal is a little bit more shaky. Again, fixtures aren't bad. And then when you look at Tottenham's fixtures, like I said before, I think, besides the Man City game, Burnley, Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Wolves, Leeds, Villa, Everton, like, you know what I mean? That's kind of why I went with Solanke instead. And just that bigger role over Son. I think, like I said, he's gonna have a bigger role. Now you have Kudus, like he has more support. Like more assists is there available for him. So I think that's why. But like I said, if you go Wood, it's not bad. Like it's definitely not a bad shout. Anybody like Wood, Watkins, it just kind of depends what you do. But I think any of those two is a must-have. Either Isaac you want to have either Isaac Watkins or one of these two for sure. I mean, there's not really a lot of options. I think Mateta's somebody decent too, but just because of his price, I didn't really go for him. But I think he isn't bad as well. Um, I mean, yeah, it just depends. I literally was between Mateta, Wood, and and Solanke. I didn't really know who to choose, but I just think Tottenham's gonna have a better season. I mean, they owe it, so that's the only reason why I went with Solanke. But like I said, hopefully the gamble pays off. And now with my last player, just to fill in the position, and I still think that this is actually a really good pick because even though I'm just filling in the position, I still think Welbeck is not bad because if you look at his goals scored last season, he had 10 goals and he's only 6.5, and I think for 10 goals to get 125 points out of him is a solid W. I mean, he's ranked 8th in points and strikers. I think that's super good. And I think Brighton every year always in the top 10. And I think they always try to push for that close to Europe spot. So I think when you pick a player like Danny Welbeck with experience, I think you can never go wrong with somebody like that. And obviously, when you look at the other 6.5 options, right? Let's see. You have Raul. He was obviously ahead of him. But to me, I just feel like, I don't know. I like Welbeck's game. I've been a fan of him. Obviously, he used to be in United, so I'm kind of a little biased. Obviously, the only other options are Liam Delap, which again, Chelsea have Joao Pedro. I just think minutes for Delap isn't gonna work. And then Strand Larson, obviously, he can be a decent shout too. But I just look at Wolves, and I'm just thinking like near relegation zone. I don't really want to do that because it's not the same Wolves with Cunha and a lot of players leaving. So I said to myself, I think from this top 5 that I'm looking at right here, I think Welbeck is the best. I think you either go with him. I think Beto would have been nice if Everton didn't sign Barry, but I think now with that, it's pretty hard. I think the other ones are just too risky. So I think Welbeck is the perfect slot into this team. So there you guys have it, man. Here's my team. And honestly, from this team, if I had to pick a certain players that like are must haves for the defense, I'm going with Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a must. If there's one defender from here that you want to have, that's a must. And I'm talking price, I'm talking points, all that. I think it's Wan-Bissaka. Obviously, Gvardiol's the best, but I think if we're talking cheap, and like when I say must have, it means you can get him onto your team without having to spend a lot. Like it's manageable. I think Wan-Bissaka's perfect. For the midfield, I think Morgan Rogers for sure. 7 million. I mean, he's not a lot. Easily you can fit him in with another premium. So I think he's perfect to have. And then for here, I would say Welbeck probably. Probably Welbeck just because 6.5. And I feel like with the strikers, a lot of people are most likely gonna go literally Isaac Watkins or Holland, like, the top players. So I think if you invest more money in your midfield and other spots, I think Welbeck is solid that you could just throw in there as like an extra striker in a way and like not be mad at it at all. Like having Welbeck on your bench is amazing. I think for a bench player, super, super nice. But yeah, so there you guys have it, man. So let me know what you guys thought about the video. Let me know what you guys thought about my team. It's super cool doing fantasy. I think this year is going to be super cool. I'm going to get into a lot of leagues, see how I do. Good luck to everyone. And yeah, let me know down below what you guys thought. Let me know about your teams, what you guys would have done, all that good stuff. And if you guys have any questions, again, feel free. And yeah, we're going to get more videos rolling out. Premier League's right around the corner. Super, super, super excited. I can't wait for that. And yeah, so make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, and the 90 ShowBiz is out. Peace.